All right, everybody, welcome back to today's personal development episode. I am your host, Joel Dunn. Today, we've got a great one for you. It is on the 9 ways to lead positive and communicate well. And here's the thing, guys. As great leaders, they aren't just great at strategy. They are great at communicating. Because how can you say something that can be different and make a difference between building the trust or tearing a team down, between inspiring your team or discouraging them? You know, every conversation you have, whether with your team, your family, your customers, is either making a deposit into their account or making a withdrawal. And this isn't just any regular account. This is your trust account, your confidence account with them. So today, I want to give you 9 practical, proven ways to keep your deposits high and keep your withdrawals with them rare. And here's the good news. You don't need any special title or special role. You don't have to be a leader or have a special degree or have gone to college. You just need to be intentional. So let's jump in with number 1. Shout praises, whisper criticism. So when Coach Chuck Daly and Brendan Schurer coached the original U.S. Olympic Dream Team, you know, the first NBA Olympic team that we put together, the Detroit Pistons were the champions. So he was the coach of that team, and that's how he got that job. So he had a roster that was stacked with the who's who of, now we're talking about Hall of Fame NBA players. He had Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas. So one of their secrets was public praise and private correction. If a player hustled in practice, they made sure that the whole team heard about it. But when a player missed an assignment, they didn't embarrass them and call them out in front of the entire team. They'd pull them aside, coach them one-on-one, and make sure it was a moment of growth instead of shaming them into the results they wanted. So here's the thing. Praise in public because it boosts confidence and your culture for your team. Correct in private because it protects trust and dignity. So think about it. When was the last time you should have praised someone on your team in front of everybody? And when maybe you did some of the things like I did where you actually privately correct and teach one-on-one. So make note of those and figure out how you have the ability to praise more in public with your team to create that confidence culture. Number 2, Steph says this one all the time, smile more. For some reason, my face doesn't naturally do this, or maybe it's just because my beard hides all of it, but a study from a university in Sweden found that smiling is literally contagious. When people saw smiling faces, their facial muscles automatically mirrored the smile that was coming at them. And here's the bonus. Smiling releases serotonin in your brain and the brain of the person that you smile at. So if you want to create a positive environment in your team, smile with them more. When you're doing training, smile more. Remind yourself, smile more. You know, it's one of those funny things that when we're getting ready to go out on stage and if we're doing a panel, the thing that we always talk about is, remember, don't just sit there and look like this when you're not talking. Sit there, nod, smile, interact with the conversation with your facial expressions and your head and your body. So remember, walking into a conference room where you are one person that has the ability to change and create an impact by smiling, because smiling is almost like yawning. It's one of those involuntary things that when you start it, all of a sudden it spreads across the entire room. So if people came in stressed, that second atmosphere that they walk into can shift based on your ability to create that shift by smiling. So here's a thought. Tomorrow, if you're going to be in a meeting, if you're going to be interacting with somebody, start with a smile first. It's free, and the return on investment is huge. Number 3, This one's the hard one for everyone. So if you could put like a double hand emoji in the chat. Yeah. Number 3, don't complain. I know it sounds completely obvious, but guys, here's the thing. I once worked with a leader who started every meeting with a list of complaints about everything. Whether it was what corporate was doing, how the weather is, what their month looks like, what's going on at home. Within months, the whole team had that same negative tone. And when that happens, sales drop, energy plummets. And that's because the product changed. The product of them changed. It's not because the company changed. It's not because the opportunity changed. It's not because the products that they were selling changed. It's because the product of them changed, because they changed the atmosphere. Because complaining is like throwing up. You might feel better, but everyone else feels worse. So here is a shift for complaining. Instead of saying, here's the problem, say, here's the problem and here's the possible solution. Be solution oriented, because guess what? There's always going to be problems. And if all you're doing is pointing out the problems, you are part of the problem. How do you become more valuable? By adding value. How do you add value? You come with solutions. Number 4, encourage. Now, I know this should be an obvious for leaders, but sometimes it's not, because sometimes it's not how we were raised. We were raised in a discouraging environment, so being encouraging is actually hard for us. Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, said, how do you know if someone needs encouragement? If they're breathing. So years ago, I had somebody on the team who was struggling to hit their goals. And every week after a call, I'd let them know, I see you showing up and that matters. Later, those simple texts is what kept them from quitting. Encouraging people on your team to push through, to know that it gets better when they get better. When they get better, things get better. But it might be the thing that keeps them in the game and not out of the game. So use your words to build people up and to create the environment for their success. Because most people don't have somebody speaking encouraging words to them or over them. Which leads to the next one. We've talked about this in It Works for a long time. Reverse gossip. Spread positive gossip. This is one of the things that is very interesting. If you mention someone, it's always going to be something good. Make sure, did you see how well they did yesterday? Did you see how they finished the month strong? Did you see those posts that they were doing? Their leadership is making a huge difference in the team. Point that out not only to the people around and above them, but the people that don't even have direct impact with them. Because when you're sharing the influence of their impact, when you are going out and spreading positive gossip about people, it becomes something that is trusting in you. Because you do that, people will trust you, even when you're not in the room. What if it became the thing that you were known for? You're the person that's always talking awesome about people behind the back. You're the one that's always propping people up and saying how good they are. That would be something worth living for in your life and being known for. Number 6, this is one that I think most people struggle with, me included. It's the listen more, talk less. One of the people that I was coaching once told me the first leader who really listened to them changed their life. Not because of the advice, because they had finally felt seen and heard. See, research shows that when someone feels truly heard, you can often see that in their eyes. That emotion connects. But here's the reality. 90% of conversations never get there. Why? because we're too busy thinking about our response instead of really listening. This is one of those things that is so hard to do. We make the joke all the time, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. So try this in your next conversation. Ask one more follow-up question before you respond, because it will change the depth of the connection instantly. The person will automatically think in their head, wow, they listened enough to ask another question. Think about it when somebody's done that to you. When somebody's good at asking you questions and they don't do the talking and you're there talking the whole time, don't you leave that conversation going, man, they are a great conversationalist. They did no talking. All they did was ask you the questions. Take the time to develop that skill as a leader and watch the impact that it has with you and your team. Number 7, welcome feedback. Early when I started as a leader, that one point where I was like, hey, I've got people that I have to be responsible for. I gave what I thought was a killer presentation. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. I did an awesome job. And afterward, I asked for feedback and I was expecting it was going to be amazing. And the response was, yeah, it was strong, but you rushed. So slow down next time. Man, I didn't want to hear that. Does anybody ever get really constructive feedback and then it stings for about 10 seconds? And then when you start to actually think about it, it makes you 10 times better. Positive communicators invite feedback because it accelerates their growth. So are you an environment to bring in and take feedback? If you're never looking for feedback, how do you know what you do really matters? I ask about it all the time. I ask everybody on here, what kind of things do you want to learn? What kind of things? It is a Q&A session. It's what do you need to become better? Not what do I assume you need that I can just teach you. It's a give and take relationship. That way, we know that when we're communicating and we're working with people, we're actually working in the areas that they need to develop. So tell your team, I'm open, make me better. What's one thing I could improve on for you? Make it specific for the people that you are directly coaching, the people that you are directly working with, and watch how it compounds in their success. Which brings us to number 8, celebrate success. This is like the public praise, but you got to make sure that when you're working with a team, the leaders start every Monday with, hey, here's what went right last week. On the Sunday night calls, when we're going over the week in review, we're talking about the great things that happened. When you do that at first, it feels weird because it's one of those things where some people just don't like that kind of recognition. But within weeks of doing it consistently, watch the energy shift in your team, in your organization, with those people that you're coaching. Because when you start with wins, things build momentum. Because small wins compound. And compounding builds momentum. And momentum is what wins weeks, months, years, and decades. So continue to focus on the small wins to create the momentum for you and your team. And then finally, number 9. Here's the thing that we often miss is the appropriate use of connection with hands. See, think about this. A study in the Journal of Emotion found that when NBA teams that had more high fives, more fist bumps, more pats on the back, more hugs after games, during games, in the early part of the season, performed significantly better by the end of the season. So positive touch reinforces and communicates trust, unity, and encouragement without words. Perfect example. Why do I do the Monday motivation and high five? We joke that I'm doing a high five through the screen. Or if you look in the mirror and you give yourself a high five in the mirror, why is that effective? Because it breaks something in your brain. It connects something that is a physical movement, creating a lasting change in your brain. So, at events, often stand up, high five your neighbor, fist bump, hug, whatever it is that you choose to do. But understand that that choice builds connection instantly. Here's another study. They say that, on average, I think they said it's 7 hugs needed per day for survival. Like, that's just a random, you need 7 hugs to survive. To thrive, you need 12 or more. So think about that today when you're looking at your kids. Have I hugged them enough to cause them to thrive? Of course, in a corporate setting, a business setting, a team setting, make sure it's welcome and respectful. But don't underestimate the power of a handshake, a high five, a pat on the back. Think about that. If you played sports, had a coach, and you were in the huddle, and he came over and put his hand on your shoulder, she put her hand on your shoulder and said that you were doing an awesome job. What did that do inside of you? That unlocked that next level, that when you went back out on the court, when you went back out on the field, you tried that much harder because that made an impact. So guys, let's recap the 9 ways that you can lead positive and communicate well. Number 1, you shout praise, you whisper criticism. Number 2, you smile more. Number 3, you don't complain, especially as a leader. Number 4, you encourage. Number 5, you spread positive reverse gossip. You listen more. 7, you welcome feedback. 8, you celebrate success. And 9, you make sure that you're high-fiving, fist-bumping, hugging, and letting people know how amazing they're doing. So here's the challenge. This week, pick 2 of these and focus on them for the next 7 days and watch how it changes the atmosphere around you and your influence on your team. Because remember this, people forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Now, really quick, give me a high five. All right, guys, go out and make it an amazing day, and I hope your week is as awesome as you are.